Good evening, ladies.
How are you?
I'm good. Okay. Yeah, so we're continuing with the Bet Yosef here in Gimel. It says, Mach katav Rabbeinu, that which is said in the Torah, V'asur lo litasek b'tzrachav. As we said, right, before prayers, a person shouldn't do his needs. What does that mean? To do personal chores that he has to do, things like this. First, he should pray to Hashem and then do his chores. So says Bet Yosef regarding that, brings a source for this, right, from the Gemara there. That's what it says in the Gemara. A person is not allowed to do his needs before he prays. It says in this Rabbi, so it says he saw many of the people who are very particular about mitzvot. They wouldn't go to do their needs in the morning until they go first to the synagogue and they say praises to Hashem, whatever, and then they go to do their chores. He says that, but from the simple meaning of the Talmud, the lav shapir ka'abdei, they're not doing properly, he says. The atfilat shemona esrei shenikbeu ikar la'avodat hakadosh baruch hu kavit Talmud le'akdim oto le'asiyat chepatzav. So he says something important, right? He says here that the point is like this, that you may think, well, if I say some blessings to Hashem, then I can go and do more chores. But this rabbi says, that that's not correct. Why? Because really the Talmud is talking about what? First doing the Amidah and then going to do your chores. So we want you to first do your Amidah, not just to say some blessings. That's not good enough.
I do have a question. Really. If you're tendering for a sick person, can you tender for the sick person and then do the prayers, or no?
I understand what you mean.
If you're taking care of a person that is
yes,
very sick, can you do that? If they're asking you for something and then you do your prayers?
Right, I understand you. The truth is, that if we're talking about taking care of a sick person who's Jewish, you can do whatever you have to do for that person. If they need you, they can't get along without you.
I see.
You know what I mean? They need you, and there's nobody else to help them but you. There's nobody else there. If there's somebody else, maybe somebody else can do it, whatever. But if there's nobody else to do it but you, so you should go and help. And then when you finish taking care of the sick, you can come back and pray later. Because the truth is, we talked about this already before, a couple of weeks ago, months ago, whatever it was. We said that when a person is really, taking care, doing a mitzvot, right? He's absolved from the prayers, and also from the Kriyat Shema, So that same thing applies over here. Taking care of the sick is like a mitzvah, So therefore, right, yes, you are allowed to take care of the sick, of course. Okay, good. So let's go on. He goes on a bit, Yosef. Rabbeinu, much katav Rabbeinu or lelech laderech. That which it says, right, that also he shouldn't go on the road before he prays. Katav alav Rabbeinu Agadol Mari Avuhav. Says this rabbi regarding that. Sheu shelo bedikduk, says it's not really so precise, his words here. Sharei lehalan kotev, because later on he writes hamechaber hamachloket sheyesh bezeh, that there's actually a dispute about this. Vesh misas sover, and there is one that holds tov hu sheitpalel bizmana mishitpalel bebeit avel. That it's better to pray in the right time than to pray in the mourner's house. Bekan tafas lo svarat harosh. So he's going like the opinion of the Rosh. Shomer shetfilat abayit adif. That he says that praying in the house is better. At kind of shono. So it doesn't. I don't agree with it. It says Bet Yosef regarding this. The Lot Damu De'ahu Delekaman Keshe Hashayra Olechet. So he says it's not really the same thing. Over there, we're talking about a different kind of a case. Over there, it's talking about where there's a caravan that's leaving. So what does that mean? If you don't go with them, that's it, right? You're stuck. It's like if you miss your plane, right? What they're going to give you another plane in a half hour? What I mean? It's not going to be like that. Right? So if you miss it, you miss it. That's it, right? So you got to catch the plane. So that's already like a case of a great need. So in a case like that, you're allowed to make some compromises, DNCs here. We talked about that already. We spoke about that. So that's something else. So he says there's no way for him to wait and pray first, and then go. He's going to miss the plane. So what's the point? I mean, what did he accomplish by doing that? But here we're talking about a different case where he's traveling by himself. So he's not in such a hurry. Nobody's waiting for him really. So if he comes a little bit late, nobody cares, so then he shouldn't not travel. So what should he do? He should pray first and then go on the road. For instance, like let's say, he's just going on like some kind of excursion, with his family, right? Some kind of thing. So, okay, so they can wait until you pray. What's the big deal? What's going to happen? The world is going to have to turn upside down until you pray? What's going to be? They can wait a little bit. What's going to happen? But on the other hand, right, if your boss is waiting for you, you got to get to work. That's not going to work out. I mean? There's no way to get out of that. So then you have to do something, to accommodate those things. But if it's just something where you're doing it for pleasure, there's no timetable really, just you're on your own. So then why not? First pray. You should first pray. That's what he's trying to say. So now, right, this guy, he can do whatever he wants. It's his own timetable, but he wants to go early. It says, if I don't get up by 6 o'clock, everything won't work out. Why not? Well, why won't it work out? Why? What's the problem? If you leave at 8 o'clock, what? The world is going to turn upside down? What's going to? First pray. And then go. Just the opposite, right? On the contrary, you'll succeed more like that. So why, by praying first? So what's the big deal? That's what he's trying to say. The Kamar, right? So says the Tur, so in a case like that, where it's your own timetable, so there, right, he shouldn't go on the road until he prays. Because that's considered to be like, you're doing your own needs. It's like a chore, same thing. You're not allowed to do that before you pray. Right? By the way, there's also an issue about, shopping. Are you allowed to go shopping before you pray? Right? So the truth is that you shouldn't do that. It's like doing your chores. That's part of the issue here, right? So a person shouldn't go shopping before he prays, but they do allow that. When on Erev Shabbat on Friday, right? Let's say if you don't go early, right, all the food will be already gone. So there are some stores like that. If you get late there, everything is gone. The chalot, there's no more chalot, there's no more nothing. It's all sold out, right? So if you don't get there on time, everything is gone. So there you're doing a mitzvah, for Shabbat. So therefore, you're allowed to go for Shabbat.
I was
Before
gonna
you
say
pray.
Black Friday.
I'm sorry?
I was gonna say Black
Friday.
Friday.
Black Friday, yeah. So that's the idea, So obviously, right, the things are different when depending on what you're doing there. But just to go shopping, for convenience, whatever. So first pray and then go shopping. What's the big deal? What are you gonna lose by waiting till 8:00 or 10:00, whatever? Wait a little bit and then go later. What's gonna happen? Nothing's gonna happen. They won't close the supermarket. Don't worry, they won't close it. It'll still be open when you get there. Okay, that's the idea. So it goes on here to explain this a little bit more. It says that which we said in the Gemara, whoever prays first and then goes on the road, HaKadosh Baruch Hu oseh lo chafetzav. He does his will, he says, right? He does his desires. So what does that mean? Hashem rewards you, right? Tells you, you prayed first and then you went on the road, right? Okay, I'm going to bless you for that, So you'll be successful. You'll fulfill your needs. You'll have your needs met. So that's great. What could be better than that, right? So it says that doesn't mean to say this in the Talmud. What it says there, doesn't mean that if he doesn't pray before, Hashem won't do his will. But so he says, right, that there's also prohibition. Not only that, he won't do your will, but also there's a prohibition there. So what's the problem? The problem is he's doing his own needs before he prays. So again, right here, we have to, do that qualification, right? What does that mean? That, as we said, when it comes to women, they could be lenient a little bit more when it comes to this, because, especially if they don't pray 3 times a day, or let's say they don't do shachrit every day. So if they don't do shachrit every day. That's not their custom. Whatever, they pray later, whatever, I don't know, whatever it may be. Sometimes they pray in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon, sometimes in the evening. So then they're not really obligated to keep these rules, because these rules only apply to somebody who does shachrit every day, like on time. He's either he's a man or he's a woman who, took on the stringency, right? As we said, to pray every morning on time. So if she took that on, then she should keep it. That's the way it is. Okay, very good. So that's the idea there. But as we said right yesterday, the same thing applies here as well. What does that mean? That even though women can be more lenient when it comes to these things, but the proper thing to do is to keep these halachot. The proper thing. What does that mean? Unless you really have a need, to go or whatever, But don't let the Yetzer Hara now tell you, oh, listen, I'm a woman, so I'll just I'll do everything the opposite way, everything crooked, the crooked way. No, that's, you should try to be, straight, with these things if you can. And, Hashem will bless you, as we said, right? That if you first pray and then go on the road, Hashem will make your journey more pleasant, more, but you'll get your goals accomplished more, if you pray first. So why not? Why not do it that way? Do things the proper way. Do things the straight way. Why not? If you can. But as we said, right, that a woman who prays only once a day and she doesn't always pray in the morning, so it really, these halachot don't apply to her. It's true. That's also true. Okay, so let's go on a little bit. ולא לאכול ולא לשתות, ואם עשה כן עליו, הכתוב אומר, ואותי שלחת לגביך, פשוט בכמה דברכות. So also we said, right, that a person shouldn't eat and drink beforehand as well. Right? We said water is okay, right? Tea is okay, coffee is okay, right? Everybody does these things, you know? So there's no reason to be stringent about these things, because the reason why we drink coffee and tea is to wake up, to pray better. So that's not, really a big issue. There is, by the way, a little bit of an issue when it comes to coffee with milk, like I always like to have coffee with milk. So, there is a side to say that milk is already like a little bit too far, because it's already like, it's food. It's like nutrition there, it's like really, it's not just water. It's like, a person can have a glass of milk. It's like a meal, like it can keep them going for, it's nutrition there. Serious nutrition going on there, so the truth is that, that's why, some people say, better to have without milk. But the truth is that, we can be lenient about that. We can have with the milk. Why? Why is that? What's the reason why? Because it's just, we're not drinking the milk to have nutrition. It's just that it makes the coffee more bearable, because drinking it black can be sometimes too heavy, drinking it black. So that's why we put milk in there, to make it a little bit more gentle. So, it's okay. So, if you like to have with milk, it's all right. We'll let you slide on that one. But I personally just, what I try to do, if I can, is that I first say the Amidah, the Shachrit. And then after the Amidah, that's when I have my coffee. This way I'm okay, because I have it with milk, so if I don't really need it, when I wake up, the truth is I don't need it when I wake up. I need it like, a little bit later, like an hour later, something like that, to have the coffee, whatever. So that's why, I don't mind waiting until I do the Amidah. And then after the Amidah, I have the coffee because I drink it with milk, whatever, but it's okay, Either way, you're okay. Okay, so let's go on a little bit. B'Shem Avi Azri. Right, whatever he said in the name of this rabbi, shemutar lishtot mayim. As we said, right, water is allowed. So says Bet Yosef, katvu sham arosh, says rosh, ve'amor yechi, ve'chen katu be'agot maimoniyot perk vav, right? They also wrote this. They wrote B'Shem Sefer HaMitzvot, in the name of this rabbi, Shem hu tzameh harbeh. So it says, if he's very thirsty, when he wakes up, right, whatever, shetov yoter sheishtem mayim. Right, it's better is that you drink some water, because otherwise when you pray, you're going to be like, distracted because you're thirsty. So it's not good to pray like that when you're dehydrated, something like that, right? So make sure you feel okay, like you're good. So if you need to drink, you're thirsty, why not drink? There's no reason to be machmir about that. There's no reason to be stringent about that. Says Rabbi Maria Abuhab, the Mishum Hach, he says, because of this, Shinua Pasuk Ve'amru, right, they taught this verse, Al tikre goyecha, mipnei she'im ha'ayinu tofsim Pasuk kemo shehu, because he says, if we would learn the verse the normal way, shehu aya asur lishtot mayim sharei, they would be even forbidden to drink water. Tzorech ga'aguf hen. So he says the water is just, something that the body needs to function. So it's not really gava, it's not like being conceited or whatever. The body needs water to function. That's what it is, It's not a matter of being conceited. It has nothing to do with that. So he says, okay, we did this already. And then he says, so he says, the reason why water is allowed is because there's no gava there. What does that mean, gava? Conceit. There's no conceit in drinking water. The person is just doing it to regulate his body, That's all. That's what it says also in this book. ונראה לי שהטעם שהיה כוח ביד החכמים לשנות הפסוק ממשמעותו היינו מפני שזה שאסור לאכול ולשתות קודם שיתפלל, אינו מדאורייתא. So he says the reason why the rabbis were able to manipulate this verse a little bit, to change it a little bit, is because it's not from the Torah. So therefore they darshaned it, they extrapolated it the way they saw it. Ela chachamim asur, the rabbis forbade that, right? Where does it say in the Torah, don't drink, don't eat before you pray? Where does it say that? It doesn't say that in the Torah. The rabbis made these rules, so that's what it is, right? So it says they didn't decree, with everything. Only something which is a way of conceit, arrogance, whatever. Right? Can you imagine a person, drinks like a bottle of beer, and then he prays, like that's arrogant. That's not the way to do things, right? And we're not talking about beer, right? Obviously, that's not the way to do. Okay, so the so it says when they came to right to learn this from the verse, that they saw that it's forbidden even with water according to the simple meaning. So therefore they changed it a little bit and they said ge'echa, which means conceited. But the truth is that what this rabbi is saying is not really so correct. It's not that the rabbis manipulated to say what they felt like. They had a tradition about this, that's the more correct way of looking at it. So this rabbi is a little bit going off a little bit, the rails a little bit here. But we'll see. Right? The Ledat Avi Ezri says, according to Avi Ezri, mutar lechol v'lishtot ochlin mashkin derefua. Oh, so right, the Avi Ezri says, as we mentioned yesterday, if a person is eating and drinking because of refuah, because of healing, right? Let's say he's sick. A person is ill, right? Like Esther said, right? You're taking care of somebody ill, right? What about if he himself is ill? The one who wants to pray. That guy is ill, right? So then he's allowed to eat and drink, but to bring himself, to the point where he can pray. He feels very weak, So the rabbis didn't decree on things like that. That's not called being conceited, So if a person, is like not feeling well, he's got some kind of an issue, whatever going on there. Let's say, lo aleinu, right? You got COVID, right? Probably most of us already had it, right? Whatever. I don't know. It's already probably behind us already. But some of us had it several times even. But anyway, the point is, right, that right when you have COVID, God forbid, you feel weak. There's a weakness there, That's what it is. So sometimes, if you don't eat something, you feel like totally, you just want to sleep all day, whatever. So if that's the case, yeah, of course, he should, he should first eat and drink to get himself enough energy to pray. We're not talking about that. Okay, so then he goes on. Some say also, some say even water is forbidden, right? Because in other words, some say even water is not allowed. Why? Because after all, right, he's doing it for satisfy his body, whatever, right? But we don't paskin like that. מה שהוא צריך לרבנו גדול, אברהם כתב כן בשם ארוחות חיים, שאפילו מים או לרפואה אסור. So there is an opinion that says, can you imagine? Even water is forbidden, even for healing. That's going too far. והוא ז"ל כתב שאין נראה בעיניו. So, but he says, the rabbi himself, he doesn't agree with that. אלא כדברי אבי עזרי, but he passed like the אבי עזרי עיקר, והכי נקטינן. That's how we pass can. מצאתי כתוב בשם רבנו טוביה, so as I found written the name of this rabbi, דווקא בחול, so this is only on weekdays, אבל בשבת ויום טוב, but when it comes to Shabbat and Yom Tov, צריך לברך על הכוס, על שולחנו, קודם אכילה. So you have to make first kiddush, he says. Right? אסור לשתות, so therefore you can't drink. So he says, you know what, if you wake up on Shabbat and you're thirsty, right? This rabbi says you can't drink. Why? Because you need kiddush, right? We don't paskin like this, by the way. But this is like one opinion. That's it says in Orchot Chaim b'shem Haram, the name of the Ram. וזכורני שראיתי כתוב בספר אחר, אחד, so as I found written in one book, שמתיר לשתות אפילו בשבת ביום טוב. He allows you to drink even on Shabbat יום טוב. ולא מצר מפני שלא קידש משום, so he says there's no prohibition even if he didn't make kiddush. Why? ככל שלא יתפלל, הקטל לעומת זמן קידוש. Because if you didn't pray yet, the time for kiddush hasn't come, So meaning what? That the mitzvah of kiddush only comes when? After you pray. So if you didn't pray, there's no mitzvah of kiddush yet. So therefore, if a person wants to have his, morning tea and coffee before he prays on Shabbat, he doesn't need to make kiddush for that, because the time for kiddush hasn't come. We're going to talk about, by the way, how that works with the ladies, because with the ladies, it's a little bit different. But, just telling you the general halacha right now. So he says, brings the Bedek Abayit over here. So this is what, this was a custom of the Rosh, that even on Shabbat, he would drink before prayers. So he says, that seems to be the halacha. So he says, all the more so, why? Because there's also another opinion. There are some poskim who allow drinking water before kiddush. Right, okay, very good. So that's the story there. Let's see the Shulchan Aruch. By the way, there's also another question that comes up when it comes to this issue. The issue is like this. What about, we're talking about the men now, right? More, I guess, whatever. So let's say the guy, as we said, right, before you prayed Shachrit on Shabbat, there's no obligation of Kiddush yet. So you can drink without Kiddush. But now the question comes up, what about if you prayed Shachrit but you didn't do Musaf yet? So is there an obligation of Kiddush there yet? Or not? Because you didn't do Musaf. Right? So the ladies anyway, right? Most ladies don't do Musaf anyway. You know what I mean? Maybe some of them do. They're allowed to, by the way. If they want to, they can be stringent and do Musaf. But they're not obligated to do Musaf. But the men are. So since the men are obligated to do Musaf, when does the obligation of Kiddush kick in? Is it before Musaf or after Musaf? That's the question, right? So the truth is, there's a machloket about that, right? Some say that after Shachrit, you already have to make Kiddush if you want to eat or drink. But some say, no, it's only after Musaf. So therefore, the rule is, there's like a double doubt over here, right? And therefore, a person who wants to be lenient and drink before Musaf, he could do it without Kiddush. If he needs it, there's a need for it. Because there is a double doubt here. What's a double doubt? Sfek Sfeka, right? It's called in Hebrew. Double doubt is, one doubt is, as we said just now, right? That maybe the halacha is like the opinion that says you're allowed to drink water before Kiddush. If you're going to tell me that the halacha is like the other opinion that says it doesn't allow you, but maybe, right, until Musaf, the obligation of Kiddush doesn't kick in. So therefore, you have a double doubt, and this is the reason why it's possible to be lenient. I'm telling you here, the psak of my rabbi, Maran Ovadia, he passed it like that. So he said, therefore, if a person has a need to do before Musaf, right, he can do so because, he can rely on this leniency. But now the question is, what about the ladies, right? So the ladies is a little bit different. So again, it depends on the custom of the lady, right? What custom she has. So what am I? First of all, number one, right? As I told you, most ladies don't pray Musaf. So that question doesn't really come up with them. It's not relevant, really. So what does that mean? If they don't pray Musaf, that means that after Shachrit, they already have an obligation of Kiddush, that's for sure. But now the question is, what about before Shachrit, right? So we said for the men, before Shachrit, there's no obligation of Kiddush. But the truth is, for women, it could be a little bit different. You know why? Because if the woman doesn't do shachrit every day anyway, right? So there, the kiddush already kicks in for her. Obligation of kiddush. Why? Because she doesn't do shachrit every day. So because of that, it's like, kiddush kicks in because it's not relevant to shachrit for her. So therefore, if a woman doesn't do shachrit every day, that means that if she wants to drink in the morning on Shabbat and Yom Tov, same thing. If she wants to drink, she has to make kiddush first. Why? Because she doesn't do shachrit every day. So the obligation of kiddush has already kicked in. On the other hand, if she does kiddush, if she does shachrit every day, that's her custom, So then it's the same thing as the men. It only kicks in after the shachrit, right? So therefore, if she wants to drink beforehand, before shachrit, she could drink beforehand. By the way, our friend David yesterday, he brought up the issue with the Hasidim, he likes to talk about these things, he enjoys, it's entertaining for him, whatever. But the truth is, there's another issue here which is involved with that. Because there are, some Hasidei Chabad, what they do is on Shabbat, they eat, cake before Shachrit, This is, it's like a very common custom with them. They say you're allowed to do it, they say the Rabbi allowed them to do it, whatever. But the truth is, according to Shulchan Aruch, it's forbidden to do that. So a person shouldn't take on this custom. It's an erroneous custom. This custom of Chabad, with all due respect, whatever. But people always tell me, Chabad is so good. They're all over the world. You can go and find a Chabad house anywhere, have a meal for Shabbat. Okay, they have they have some good things. I'm not arguing with that, right? There's some good points there. But when it comes to this custom, of eating cake before Shachrit on Shabbat, this is not acceptable. It's against the Shulchan Aruch, against the halakha. So what they say is like this. They claim, the Chabad people, they told me, I've already had, discussions with them about this. They say, the Rabbi used to say that, today, like everybody's weak, so, if you don't eat, have a little cake before, like you won't be able to pray properly, so that cake will get you through the prayers, Yeah, have that piece of cake, pound cake, whatever, right? Whatever. That'll get you through the prayers because you're weak, whatever. But the truth is that it's not really true. Not everybody's weak, like that, that he has to eat in the morning before he prays. If you are like that, if you're really, really very weak, so as we said, right, you're considered to be like you're sick, so that's okay. You can do it. But you can eat. But we're talking about a normal person. Not every normal person has to eat before he does shachrit. But here's the thing, right? The reason why they do it this way is because they do, on Shabbat shachrit late. Like 9:30 they start. They're very late. So because of that, they get hungry because it's already like half the morning is already gone. This is the reason why they eat before. So, the proper thing to do is not to pray so late. Pray earlier, like a normal person, 7:30, whatever, on Shabbat. Go to a normal minyan, whatever, right? And pray at normal time. So this way you won't be hungry before Shachrit. That's the way to solve the problem. Not to make a problem by going late to pray and then you have to eat cake, So that's what the Chazal say, right? Avera goret avera. One sin leads to another. You know what I mean? Because you go late, now you got to eat. You're hungry. So now you got two nice sins over there, right? Whatever. It's not good to do it this way. You know what I mean? So therefore, right? We don't go like that. It's not even whether you're Ashkenazi or Sephardi, you shouldn't do these things. Doesn't make any difference.
Kavod Harav, I have a question, but doesn't that pound cake have sugar, and sugar is what it causes the gava before prayers? Considering that you're not sick.
Yeah, we should connect you with the Chabad people. You should argue with them. We should get you to maybe call them up a little bit. I don't know. Send them a letter. I don't know.
Anonymous.
It could be even not anonymous, but what do you call it? The truth is that what you're saying is very interesting, regarding the sugar. So here's the thing, right? When you're drinking a tea in the morning or coffee, right, before shachrit, are you allowed to put sugar in there? So the answer is yes. The answer is yes. You know why? Because who drinks coffee without tea and sugar, right? With tea without sugar. Go drink coffee, without sugar. It's very bitter.
But the amount of sugar is very little compared to pound cake, no?
Whatever, but okay, now we can't get into, okay, well, you can have a little bit, not too much. How are we going to make these measurements? You know what I mean? There's no way to measure these things. Okay. So therefore, right, the truth is that our tea and coffee also has sugar.
Uh-huh.
So then what's the difference between this and that? You know what I mean? That's the question, right? So the difference is like this, okay? That, as we said, when you're drinking coffee and tea in the morning, the reason is to wake up, to be alert, so you can pray better. And you can't drink it without sugar because it doesn't taste good, So we do, that's why we drink it like that. That's the way to drink coffee and sugar, with sugar, tea with sugar, I personally, by the way, I don't put sugar in my tea. But in my coffee, I do because it's like very bitter. It's like otherwise it's pretty pretty nasty, right? So the purpose over there is different, okay? But the truth is, when it comes to the cake, here's the thing, right? What the doctors they say, what is cake made out of, right? It's made out of flour, right? Okay, so flour is made out of what? From starch, right? From wheat.
Yes.
Okay, so what happens in a person's body is that all the starch that he eats, it turns into sugar. This is what happens in the body. The body converts the starch into sugar.
Yes.
So it all becomes sugar. You know what I mean? It's pretty much. So it's like one big sugar ball there. But the truth is, right, that beyond this issue of the sugar, right, the Chazal say in the Talmud, in Masechet Brachot, there's only one thing that satiates you, like only things that are made out of like wheat flour, wheat, right, or the 5 species of grain. Mm-hmm. Those satiate, but other things don't satiate you. So that's really the problem, more so when it comes to the cake, it satiates. Mm-hmm. It's like a meal.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's more than just having sugar. It's like you're having a meal.
Okay.
So, it's even worse. I mean, but the truth is that even if it's not cake, even just to have some fruit, right? You're not allowed to have fruit either. Oh. Right? So it's not an issue of sugar there, not so much. The issue is more, is it like food, like something which brings you to gava, right? To being conceited, whatever. So that's the whole thing, So therefore, right, the custom is, when it comes to tea and coffee, we're lenient to put some sugar in there. No, nobody's stringent about that today. Right? But when it comes to food, that's already a different issue altogether, right? That's a different thing.
Thank you.
Yeah, God bless. So that's the story, right? There's a lot of issues that need to be discussed. The reason I mentioned this is because if you go to a shul, which is like Chabad, and they start to have their cake, like go to the side and read some Tehillim, when they're having some cake. Don't join them for this breakfast over there, right? The breakfast club. And don't join them for that. You can have kiddush with them afterwards. That's okay. You have kiddush with them, but before, that's not a good idea. Okay. So we'll go to Shulchan Aruch here and see what's going on there. Okay, so it says in Shulchan Aruch, "En lo litasek betzorchav," right? A person shouldn't do his needs, or lelech lederech, or to go on the road, right? Until he prays Shemona Esrei, until he prays the Amidah. So, by the way, there was a question asked to the Chazon Ish about this issue. They asked the Chazon Ish, okay, Rabbi, it says in Shulchan Aruch, you're not allowed to do your needs before you pray Amidah. So then the question is like this, they asked, what about making your bed, right, before you pray? Are you allowed to do that? Make your bed? Is that considered to be like your needs, your chores, or not, right? So the Chazon Ish answered that you're allowed to make your bed before you do Amidah, right? By the way, it's a very sharp answer he gave there. Very thoughtful, right? And what's the reason that he gave? So he said that the reason is because making your bed is not like really a chore. It's more like, just having a clean house, like neatness, like just having a neat room. So this is just like, it's just proper manners, to make your bed after you get up. Don't ask me, by the way, about that, because I don't have those proper manners. But whoever knows me that I don't have those manners. but the people who do have the proper manners, they want to make their bed before they leave the house or whatever, right? So that's the way it is. So that's not considered to be doing your chores. It's just like, proper manners, proper etiquette, whatever you want to call it, right? So therefore, it says the Chazon Ish that you're allowed to do, It's like, let's say, for instance, give you an example, right? Let's say you woke up in the morning, right? And before you prayed, you found that the fridge is open, like somebody left it open, the fridge, So are you allowed to close it, or is that considered to be like you're doing your chores? No, it's not. That's not chores. It's just not proper for the fridge to be open like that. It's not proper, proper manners, proper etiquette. It's just not proper, You're losing your energy like that, wasting your money. You could break your fridge like that. So that's not considered to be doing your chores, things like this. We're not talking about things like that. Same thing, by the way, if a person wants to in the morning, wants to brush his teeth and stuff, that's not a problem. We're not talking about things like that. He wants to have nice, breath to pray to God, with good breath, with clean teeth. That's proper manners, proper etiquette, right? That's what it is, So I'm not talking about things like that. So what would be a problem? I'll give you an example, right? Let's say, he wants to go and deposit money in the bank, like that's doing your chores. So you shouldn't do that before you pray. What I mean? What business now you're going to the bank, cash machine over there, depositing, $100 bills over there. What's the big rush? If you wait a couple of hours, what's going to be? The bank will close. What's going to happen? So wait until you pray, and then go to the bank, and do your business over there, or balancing your checkbook, right? Things like this. What do you need to do that before you pray? What's the point of that? What's the whole point there? Okay. So it says in the Ramah, it says there are those who are lenient after you said some blessings before you say Baruch Shamar, but it's good to be stringent, he says. And he brings the Truma tradition, by the way. Interesting thing is, that this Truma tradition we saw in the Bet Yosef, and he seemed to be like he was actually stringent about this, So the Ramah is a little bit stretching it over here, saying that Truma tradition was lenient about this. He wasn't lenient. He was saying that you should not be lenient. That's what we saw in the Bet Yosef. So whatever, right? So I don't think this is a good idea to be lenient when it comes to this issue. And by the way, the Ramah doesn't say that's halakha anyway, right? So that's not the halakha, even for the Ashkenazim. So let's go on a little bit, right? Also, right, as we said, he shouldn't eat or drink, as we mentioned. But you're allowed to drink water, right? before you pray. Ben bechol, ben b'Shabbat, whether it's weekday or Shabbat. B'yom tov, right? Cake? No, they didn't allow cake. Sorry about that. It's also, it says if you're doing it for healing, you're allowed to eat and drink, right? If you're sick, a person is lo aleinu, is ill, he's allowed to eat and drink to feel better, to feel stronger. That's not gava, that's not be conceited. What does that have to do with the conceit? Just your body's weak. That's something else. Okay, very good. That's the story there. So we got more time. We can do maybe one more. So we'll go to Daled. So here it says Bet Yosef. Katav Rambam. Says the Rambam. Peg came in Chotfila. Hatzameh ve'ara'ev harahen bechlal hacholim. Right. This is what I told you guys yesterday, right? So says the Rambam a chidush, right? Novel idea a little bit here. That it says if a person who's really thirsty, or he's very hungry, he's considered to be like he's sick. In other words, he can't pray like that. He doesn't feel right. So if he feels like that, he can't pray because of the thirst or the hunger. So it says, therefore, he says like this: if you can concentrate without eating or drinking, right, you should do so. Pray first. But if you can't concentrate like that, then you should eat and drink first. Right? Go have your Cheerios first, and then pray. So you can get some energy there, because if you feel really weak like that, it's like you're sick. Same thing. That's what he's saying. Right, so the Rambam says also it depends on your condition, like you got to measure your condition. You got to, make that evaluation, right? What does that mean? Do I have the energy to pray or not? Can I hack it or not? After you make the evaluation, do what you have to do, right? Either you pray first, if you can hack it. If not, sit down and have something to eat, whatever, drink, whatever, right? And then pray. Okay, very good. So says Bet Yosef regarding this, but it says according to what the Rabbeinu, the Torah, wrote in chapter 98, B'Shem Aram, in the name of the Ram, as we said, right, that a person who's not really feeling well, so it's interesting, right? He brings this over here to make a little bit of a contradiction. But he says nowadays, there's a halacha like this, right? Which is that the person is not feeling, properly oriented. He's not oriented properly. What does that mean? He's confused a little bit, right? He's got some thoughts going through his head. Can't concentrate. He's a little bit feeling anxiety, whatever it could be, right? Something like that, right? Depressed, things like this, right? So the truth is, in the times of the Talmud, a person who had this kind of issue was not supposed to pray. He was supposed to wait until he feels more, right, normal. So comes the Bet Yosef and says, maybe, right, this contradicts apparently, right, what the Rambam said. What does that mean? The Rambam said, if you can't concentrate, then you should eat first. But according to this, right, but it says over here that nowadays we can't really concentrate anyway so much with prayers. So therefore, we're not really so particular about this halakha. What halakha am I telling you? That if a person doesn't feel so well-oriented, that he should wait and not pray. We don't do that today. Why is that? Because even an hour, you may not be well-oriented. You still have, you're dizzy still. You're still not concentrated. You're still depressed, whatever it is, right? So we don't stop prayers because of our, the mood, the temporary mood that you're in. Nowadays, we don't do that. Why? Because you may have the same problem, in a half hour or an hour. So what's going to improve? Nothing will improve. Today, we're all mixed up anyway. What is this? Our heads are all spinning anyway. So therefore, this apparently contradicts the Rambam, because the Rambam says, if you don't feel good, you can't concentrate, so you should eat first. But maybe nowadays we shouldn't do like that. Why? Because anyway, we can't concentrate. So what difference does it make? So the answer is, אפשר דהבה אינם יתפללו ואחר כך יאכלו וישתו. ויאמירו אם רצו הצמא והרעב הסמוך לסמוך על דברי הרמב"ם, הרשות בידם. But he says, so in other words, it seems to be contradicting a little bit what the Rambam said here. But it says Bet Yosef, whoever wants to rely on the Rambam can rely on that. He's a big man, right, with big shoulders, so if you want to rely on the Rambam, you could. So what does that mean? That if you think that you can pray better because you're weak, whatever, you don't feel good, you can pray better if you eat a little bit because you can't concentrate. So then you should eat, right? You can rely on the Rambam. That's what we're saying. Okay, very good. So let's see the Shulchan Aruch here.
We didn't do the tour on this one?
I think there was no tour here. This was just Bet Yosef.
Okay.
There are some, by the way, halachot where there's no tour.
Okay.
There are also some halachot, there's no Bet Yosef.
Oh.
So, it can vary. These things can vary.
Thank you.
Once you get, once you get used to learning Bet Yosef, you'll see that things aren't always the same. There can be a lot of variation going on.
Thank you.
God bless. Okay, so anyway, right, let's see the Shulchan Aruch, Daled. So it says here, Atzameh ve'araev. So it says a person who's thirsty and hungry, they're like a sick, they're considered like sick. So what does that mean? You can't concentrate like that, So it says if he can concentrate, let him pray, fine. Ve'im lav, but if not, he doesn't have the strength to do it. So if he wants, he could first eat and drink and then pray. So the way he writes this halakha, the Shulchan Aruch, you can see, right, a couple of inferences here. One inference is that he's not telling you you're obligated to do this, okay, like eat and drink. If you want to pray without that, you could do that too. It's your choice, but you do have the option to do that when you feel weak. That's what he's trying to say. And that's another reason, by the way, that we're lenient regarding, coffee with sugar and coffee with milk. Because we're weak, so it just wakes us up. That's what it is, basically. When it comes to things like that, right? But as we said, right, what Chabad is doing, that they're eating cake before, on Shabbat, before they pray, and they're like making it like a general heter, like a permission for everybody. That's not really the proper thing to do. Why? Because some people are not hungry, so then why should you tell everybody to eat cake, Like I don't want to mention any names, but there's one Chabad rabbi, that I know. And, I see him, he comes into the shul, and he has every morning in the shul, he has cake, before Shachrit, he eats cake, as if like, it's like it's an obligation, like it's a mitzvah, Come on, give me a break, You're a grown man, you're strong as an ox, Like, what do you need to eat for? No, but he wants to, dafka, like to show that that's the way to do it. It's like, come on, give me a break, That's not right. You're a grown, strong man. You're not sick. Nothing wrong with you. Why do you need to eat everyday cake, before you do Avindah? What's the reason for that? What, every person is weak like that? What, that's a little bit exaggerated. Okay, God bless, right? That's the idea. So I guess we'll stop there. Very good. So I just want to tell you guys, right, tomorrow I'm having a cataract surgery in my left eye, So it's going to be like in the afternoon. It's like a short thing, but hopefully I'll be able to do the class tomorrow. I think I will. I'll try, but I'll let you guys know, right, if I can't, If you don't hear from me, right, I guess then we'll be doing it. But if, if I can't do it, I'll text you, whatever, and let you guys know if I can't do it. But I think I can, whatever. I'll try. We'll see. So say a prayer for me tomorrow, and hopefully everything will turn out good. Bezat Hashem. God bless. God bless. Thank you. So,
Don't forget, Yes.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Don't force your vision tomorrow. We
No,
need
no,
you.
right. It's only in one eye, so it shouldn't affect the other eye. Hopefully, you know what I mean. So it should be okay. For sure, that eye, right, will be covered. So I'm not going to be using that eye, but unless there's a miracle, I don't know. You never know what's going to be. But I won't be using the left eye, but I can, do it with the right eye. Okay, whatever it is, right? We'll try our best. God willing. Okay, so be holy and happy. Be blessed with wealth, health, happiness. Chazak Baruch. See you tomorrow. I hope so. Hope I'll see you tomorrow. At least maybe you'll see me. If I don't see you, you'll see me. So, okay, God bless.
Thank you, Kabbalah.
All the best.
We'll pray for you.
Thank you.